Today in class we explored how adding different combinations of water and orange juice concentrate produces different types of orangey juice. Some types of juice might taste more like a fresh ripe orange, others might taste a little bit more watered down, depending on that specific ratio between water and orange juice concentrate. So what you're going to do today for homework is think about Appley juice. It's the similar type of problem to what you did in class today, and we're going to ask that you work through the problems on page 4 first, and then correct your work by going through this option. So we're going to compare these 4 mixes for apple juice, and we want to know which one would make the most appley juice. So take a moment if you haven't solved this problem and think through which one has the most appley flavor. All right, so now we're going to kind of look through this problem and think about how we might solve it. And there's lots of different ways to think through it. For example, I might look at how mix W has 5 cups of concentrate and 8 cups of cold water. And I'm going to write a ratio that's called a part to whole ratio. You're going to learn about this later, but I'm going to note that that's 5 cups of concentrate that make 13 cups of juice, because I'm going to add the 5 and the 8 together to think about how 5 out of the total of 13 parts are juice, right, which are going to make that appley flavor. Then I'm going to look at mix X. So that's 3 cups of concentrate, and that makes a total of 3 plus 6, or 9 cups of juice. And then mix Y, I have 6 cups of concentrate and 9 cups of water, so 6 plus 9 would make 15 cups of juice. And mix Z, I have 3 cups of concentrate and 5 cups of cold water, so 3 plus 5 gives me 8. So now to compare these, there's lots of different ways to do this, and hopefully you saw your classmates do lots of different ways to make sense of this in class. But one way would be to find the percentage. So I could do 5 divided by 13, for example, and find that percent. Another way would be to find a common denominator for all of these fractions to compare them and see which one has the largest amount of juice. I could also look at simplifying some of them if that might help me find a common denominator, though I'm noticing 13 is kind of a tricky one. So why don't I find percentages just to try that one, for example. So if I do 5 divided by 13, I get 0.38 approximately, and so that's about 38%. So 38% of the juice is kind of like the appley flavor. 3 divided by 9, I might recognize that's equivalent to 1/3. That's 33%. 6/15, I could simplify this to 2 over 5, 2/5. I might also notice that 2/5 is the same as 4/10, and 4/10 is the same thing as 40/100, which is the same as 40%. So there's lots of different ways to think through the percentages here, but again, another way is just to divide like you saw before. So for this last one, 3 divided by 8, I get 0.375. So again, I have 0.375, so I'm going to say that's about 37.5%. I could probably round that even to 38%. And so looking at that now, I see different percentages of juice. So I'm noticing that Y is probably the most appley because it has the highest percentage of concentrate in the mix. In the second question, I'm asked to think about a single batch. And so single batch, right, would mean that we add all the cups of concentrate and water together and we create a batch. And so I want to think about what fraction of each batch is concentrate. And so for mix W, for example, I'm going to note that there's 5 cups of concentrate out of a total of 5 plus 8, 13 cups total. So that batch makes a total of 13 cups. That's a single batch. So you'll notice these are the same fractions that I set up in the previous problem. You might have them already. So again, mix X, I have 3 cups of concentrate out of 3 plus 6 makes 9. You can also simplify that, right? To 3 over 9 makes 1 over 3. For mix Y, we have 6 cups of concentrate out of 6 plus 9, or 15 cups in the batch. And again, I can simplify this. If I divide the top and the bottom by 3, I get to 2/5. And finally, mix Z, I have 3 cups of concentrate out of 3 plus 5 or 8 cups in the total batch. So these are what I'm going to later call part to whole ratios. So kind of keep an eye on that for later. But again, I'm comparing the concentrate to the total number of cups in the batch. In question 3, I'm being asked to rewrite my fractions that I just wrote as percents. And again, you might have noticed that when I was looking at the first problem, I actually went through and did this already. But again, just to make sure you've got it, mix W, we had 5 out of 13. And again, we said you can do 5 divided by 13 to come up with that percentage. So you get a decimal of about 38 hundredths. But again, you need to remember that that means 38%. Mix X, I had 3 out of 9, or 1/3. And again, if you do 1 divided by 3, you get 0.3, 3/10, but it's actually 0.3 repeating. And so that's around 33%. For mix Y, we have 6 out of 6 plus 9, 15. Again, we said we could reduce that to 2/5. And again, 2 divided by 5, we get 4/10. And that's equivalent to 40%. And finally, mix Z, we have 3 cups of concentrate out of the 8 total cups. And that produced a decimal of about 375 thousandths, which is about 37.5%. You could also round that up to 38%. So those are our percents. Make sure you feel comfortable changing a fraction into a percent. For the last problem, I'm going to think about if I only made 1 cup of mix W. So right now, mix W has 5 cups of concentrate, and it makes a total batch of 13 cups. But what if I only wanted to make 1 cup? So you'll notice here I have the cups of concentrate over the total cups in the batch. Right, this is what we call proportion, like you've been seeing before. I'm making some equivalent ratios. I'm looking for a scale factor. And so if I want to go from 13 to 1, some of you might think I have to divide by 13. So you can either say divide by 13, or another way you might know to make something 13 times smaller would be to multiply by 1/13. So that gets me to 1. So now I'm going to need to do the same thing to the top, right? Because I want to scale the top by the same amount. So 5 divided by 13 would give me 5/13. Or again, I could think about 5 times 1/13, and that gives me 5/13 as well. So I'm going to need 5/13 of a cup of concentrate, right? So this should make sense to you that I want to make 1 cup of the mix. So each part, the concentrate and the water, is only going to be a fraction of a cup, since I'm only going to make a cup total. So if 5/13 of the cup is concentrate, then how much of it is water? Well, you might be thinking about how 13/13 would be 1 cup. So 13/13 minus 5/13 would give me 8/13. So that means I need 8/13 of a cup of water. All right, that's it for your homework for tonight. I hope you were able to think through these problems and you have a better idea about how to answer which juice is the most appley or the most orangey as we continue to explore proportions.